The 2026 F1 era hasn't even officially started, but the championship might have already been decided in a laboratory in Brixworth, and the rest of the grid is absolutely terrified. We aren't just looking at a clever interpretation of the rules, we are witnessing a massive, revolutionary engineering heist where Mercedes has reportedly found a way to cheat physics through thermal expansion. And the fallout is so crucial that it could literally force the defending champions off the grid before the lights even go out in Melbourne. For months, the paddock has been whispering about the Brixworth Secret. While everyone was focused on the flashy arrow of the 2026 regulations, Mercedes HPP was digging into the fine print of the internal combustion engine. ICE specs, the goal. A higher compression ratio, the holy grail of power and efficiency. In the locked-down Barcelona tests, the Mercedes-powered cars didn't just look reliable, they looked ominous, gliding through over 5,300 kilometers while rivals like Aston Martin and Williams were left scrambling just to get out of the garage. But there's a catch that is currently sending shockwaves through FIA headquarters. What the teams aren't telling us is that this isn't just about a faster car, it's about a loophole involving material science that allows the engine to be legal when cold, but transform into a power monster once it hits racing temperatures. Ferrari, Audi, and Honda have been screaming for a clampdown, but they were powerless without a majority vote. Now, the bombshell. Redbull has reportedly defected and joined the alliance to crush this thermal trick. What if the FIA actually enforces a mid-test rule change that renders the most dominant engine on the grid instantly illegal? But before we move on, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss out on any of our latest videos. We're digging deep into the 2026 data all week, and you won't want to miss the technical breakdowns coming next. This isn't your standard F1 political squabble. This is an all-out engine war. To understand the why behind this event, you have to look at the 1.6 LV6 architecture. The 2026 regulations strictly cap the compression ratio at 18:1. If you can go higher, you get more bang for your buck, more power for every drop of fuel. The rumor mill, backed by heavy investigative reporting, suggests Mercedes found a way to use specific alloys that expand under the extreme heat of a Grand Prix stint. When the FIA tech delegates measure that engine at ambient temperature in the garage, it sits perfectly at 18:1. But at 300 degrees C, that ratio reportedly climbs, giving Mercedes a vertical advantage that no amount of side pod sculpting can overcome. The domino effect here is staggering. For the last year, Red Bull Powertrains was supposedly playing the same game, which is why there was no majority to close the loophole. But look at the telemetry from Barcelona. Red Bull Racing managed 1,415 kilometers, but their top-end speeds weren't matching the Mercedes-powered Alpine or McLaren. The eureka moment for the paddock came when Red Bull suddenly switched camps. This tells us one of two things. Either Red Bull realized their version of the trick wasn't working, or they've realized Mercedes has executed it so much better that their only hope is to lobby the FIA to ban the technology entirely. If you look at the visual evidence from the Barcelona pits, the body language in the Mercedes and McLaren garages was almost too calm, while Adrian Newey was seen hovering around the Aston Martin, which, let's be honest, looked like a science experiment gone wrong with its possibly aggressive, unpainted bodywork. The Mercedes W7 was running like a Swiss watch. But notice the tension during the FIA press conferences. When Nicolas Tombazzi says he wants to solve these issues before Australia, he isn't talking about a minor tweak. He's talking about a fundamental shift in how engines are measured. The technical complexity here is what makes it a masterstroke. By utilizing a variable compression ratio achieved through material expansion rather than moving mechanical parts, which are strictly banned, Mercedes has effectively circumvented the spirit of the law while remaining within the letter of it. If you look at the cooling vents on the Mercedes-powered cars compared to the Audi or Ferrari, you'll notice a distinct lack of overcooling. Mercedes wants that engine hot. They are using heat as a performance tool, not a byproduct to be managed. However, the political landscape has shifted violently. When Audi entered F1, they expected a level playing field. Seeing Mercedes potentially run away with a thermal cheat code has unified the most unlikely of allies. Ferrari and Honda, bitter rivals for decades, are now sharing data to prove to the FIA that this expansion trick is intentionally engineered. The pressure on Nicolas Tombazzi is immense. If he closes the loophole now, he risks a PR nightmare, the potential absence of Mercedes, McLaren, Alpine, and Williams from the season opener. Zak Brown's comments aren't just optimism, they are a threat. He's saying, "We have built our entire car around this engine. If you ban it now, we can't race." Meanwhile, look at the back markers who are getting caught in the crossfire. Williams is the biggest victim here by failing to turn up in Barcelona. They didn't just miss out on laps, they missed out on the opportunity to see if their cooling package can even handle the hot mode of the Mercedes engine. If the FIA forces a rule change in Bahrain that requires more cooling to maintain a lower compression, Williams won't have the bodywork ready to accommodate it. They are flying blind into a hurricane. Then we have the new factor at Aston Martin. If you analyze the telemetry cues from the brief 5 laps Lance Stroll managed, the car was noticeably draggy on the straights. Was that just a base map? Or is the Honda power unit so far behind in the ICE department that Newey has had to design a car with extreme aero efficiency just to keep up? Alonso's "don't judge us yet" comment is the ultimate red flag. He knows that if the Mercedes engine isn't nerfed by the FIA, Aston Martin and their massive investment might be fighting for P10 instead of P1. This isn't just about 2026. It's about the philosophy of Formula One. Is it a sport of pure engineering ingenuity where the cleverest person wins? Or is it a spec series disguised as a manufacturer championship? The reading between the lines moment is this: Red Bull's defection is the smoking gun. They've seen the Mercedes data, likely through GPS mapping, during the Barcelona test, and they've realized they are looking at a 50 horsepower deficit. In the world of 2026 regulations, 50 horsepower is an eternity. As we head into the Bahrain test, watch the garage doors. Watch the FIA scrutinizers. If you see them lingering around the Mercedes HPP technicians with thermal imaging cameras, you know the war has begun. The teams are trying to kill the Mercedes advantage before it ever reaches a podium. This is the most expensive game of poker in sporting history, and Mercedes just went all in. The strategic implications of this thermal advantage extend far beyond just raw speed. Meanwhile, the psychological pressure in the garages is at an all-time high. Mercedes engineers can almost sit back and watch their competitors scramble in real time, knowing that their innovation has created a performance gap that cannot easily be bridged. Rival teams are no longer just racing the clock. They are racing against a moving, adaptive standard of technology that shifts the goalposts with each degree of engine temperature. The mental toll on mechanics, strategists, and drivers alike is palpable, with whispers of sleepless nights and tense arguments echoing through the paddocks. And yet, the drama isn't confined to the factories. FIA delegates, caught between enforcing the rules and preserving the spectacle of the sport, are walking an unprecedented tightrope. One misjudgment could see them accused of favoritism, or worse, trigger protests that delay races or force retroactive penalties. Every decision made now has the weight of championship implications, and the balance of power in Formula One is teetering on a knife's edge. The Bahrain test is no longer about finding a setup. It's a courtroom drama at 200 miles per hour. If the FIA moves the goalpost this week, Mercedes could go from the favorites to the biggest victims of the 2026 regulations overnight. But here's the real question. Is it fair for the FIA to change the measurement criteria weeks before the season? Or should Mercedes be rewarded for finding a gap in the rules that everyone else was too slow to exploit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is this engineering genius or blatant cheating? I want to see the debate below.